Hey everybody, it's Tatiana with Back to Facts. So I am just real quick here trying to address the fact checking on Trump's statements on immigration. There was one in USA Today basically saying he's going to lie to you tonight, and I found it really funny. 9 things you should know before Trump starts spewing lies. So in general, when they say he's lied thousands and thousands of times, whenever I look at it, it's either something that cannot be proven or it's a matter of qualification. Like, yes, this is a Jeep, but it's also a light utility, a sport utility vehicle. Or, yes, this is, whatever, it's an amphibian, but it's also a boat. So it's not really an animal. It's very strange. And there have been times where I'll say, okay, I don't know where he got that statistic, but most of the time it's about degree and context and qualification. So, first thing is they say illegal border crossings are down significantly. In 2000, 1.6 million people were apprehended trying to cross the southern border into the United States. In 2001, 1.3 million were apprehended. In 2018, less than 400,000. That's not just a decline, it's a significant decline. Here's the thing. In fiscal year 2018, which actually the fiscal year, it starts in the fall. Anyway, they had 600,000 apprehended. Now, just because it's down, the number of apprehended are down, doesn't mean that people haven't been coming in, because when Obama was president, he actually deported a lot more people from the interior. And this is in spite of him increasing the budget for Border Patrol. So basically what that tells me is it's possible that they're not even being apprehended. And that means that we're not even really aware of just how many people are getting in. Next, the counties along the southern border are among the safest in the United States. I'm sure they are, and that's wonderful. What could that be attributed to? We don't actually know. Number one, there's not a huge population in these border counties. It's a lot of ranchers. Number two, we're not saying they're coming to maraud villages. It's more of an opportunity for smuggling. So number three, I've read articles in the last 10, 15 years that talk about how child trafficking and sex trafficking, even from Eastern Europe, comes through Mexico because the border is undetectable. I mean, if you're going to fly in and overstay your visa, you're technically probably a pretty safe person. I have a lot of friends like that. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about undetected human trafficking and smuggling. Next. Most undocumented immigrants don't sneak across the border. They fly in and overstay their visa. Nobody's talking about that. That is a concern, but that's not what applies at the border. The White House is lying about terrorists crossing the border. So apparently Sarah Huckabee Sanders said something about 4,000 known or suspected terrorists come into our country illegally. I don't know if she's saying every year. And then basically they found out that was at the airport. Stupid figure. She shouldn't have been talking about that. It has nothing to do with the border. Next, migrant care, and actually the fact that those people make it through on airplanes is just shows how little control we really have. Next, migrant caravans aren't sneaking across the border either. If you care about facts, it's important to distinguish between illegal border crossings and migrants lawfully presenting themselves at southern ports of entry. The simple fact is that large groups of very visible migrants are obviously not trying to sneak across the border. They're coming to the border to apply for asylum. This is completely misleading, and I'll tell you why. I've said this in other videos. People who come across, even in the caravans, if they can access the border at a place where they're undetected, great, then they're free, right? And people cross multiple times in the course over years. But if they do get caught, they can ask for asylum, and then they'll go through a process. And if they have kids with them, they have more of a chance of somehow attenuating this and dragging it out. So they have believed since about 2009, when the laws changed, saying that anybody from Central America had to, they couldn't just be turned away with a credible fear screening. They had to come before an immigration judge. So that's why all of these family units and unaccompanied minors have come. The next point is about drugs and how they're most often hidden in legal shipments, like shipments, mail, at the border, ports of entry. Yes, that is true. Statistically speaking, what we know of, I mean, if drugs are going to come across not at ports of entry, undetected, well, isn't that the meaning of undetected? Then conservative political figures and think tanks think Trump's wall is pointless. Some do. Some libertarian think tanks say all immigration is great. You shouldn't try to control it. It's just basically, you know, your the talent's bubbling up to the surface, like the Cato Institute, but not all conservative groups think that at all. In fact, well, the Border Patrol Council, which is like the Border Patrol Union, they endorsed Donald Trump for president in 2016 and they wrote an editorial about needing the wall. One of those people who wrote, the guy who wrote it was one of those bald people in the press conference. Americans do not support Trump's wall. Well, it's actually about 55-50. Okay, that's it. That's the fact check. And I have more thoughts. I really find the media very misleading on these statistics. They're getting them from each other. You know, you ask yourself, well, why? You know, these are really high-end, you know, news organizations. Why are they doing this? And why do they sound so smug if they're wrong? I'll tell you why. They're getting these stats from each other. And they're taking it for granted that the people they got them from have figured them out properly and are looking at everything. But I'll tell you, statistics can be manipulated, and it's really a science, and not just anyone can analyze these statistics. I've been covering immigration for on and off for the last 15 years, and those are my thoughts. Thanks for listening and watching.